I am Sanchia, and welcome to Be Still and Grow, a space for honest conversations about faith, growth, and becoming who God designed us to be. Here, we slow down to listen, to reflect, and lean into the lessons hidden in life's transitions. Whether we're navigating change, waiting on a promise, or walking through pruning seasons, remember, growth isn't about striving, it is about surrender. Each week, we'll explore real stories, biblical insights, and gentle reminders to trust God's plans, even when it doesn't make sense. So take a deep breath, be still, and let's grow together. I love having you here. We'd like to hear some of your stories. See you. Hi guys, how are we feeling? Today, we are going to be talking about purpose. Now, about 2 Sundays ago, we had a snowstorm here in New York. Some storm come to clear the path of distractions, disappointments, and wannabes. So much has happened since. We've grieved the losses. We were intentional about gratitude. And then it was time to change again. Do we know who we are? Do we know where we're going? Why do we do the things we do? Will we continue to inch our way in the wilderness because it feels comfortable there? Why are we here? Is there a purpose for our lives? So, some time ago, I did a quick search for purpose on Google, and it returned billions of results in less than a second. Purpose is popular in books, podcasts, sermon, coaching, social media. Everything promises, clarity. And yet, we're still confused about purpose. So, that is why we're going to write about it again. Because information alone does not equal transformation. And clarity about purpose is not found in collecting ideas. It is found through alignment. So, in a world where it's just never enough, we often find ourselves chasing endless cycles of accumulation, more cars, more house, more money. Even in the church, we're not exempt. The culture around us celebrates materialism. Success is defined by what we have, how much we earn, rather than who we are and how we serve. But while we gain more things, climb social ladders, and collect accolades, we must pause and ask, are we truly content as well? So that's the 2 topics we're going to cover today. Purpose and contentment. Okay, so let's start with contentment. What does it mean to be content? Contentment is not apathy. It's not giving up dreams or settling for less. Rather, contentment is a state of satisfaction and peace, independent of what we own or how life looks externally. Some people have vacation homes, multiple cars, and high-paying jobs, yet we constantly want more. We say, once I get this, I'll be satisfied. But then we get it. We're already on to the next thing. Others want what you have, not because they need it, but because we lack fulfillment. This is not ambition, my friends. This is discontentment. And it's often because we do not know who we are and why we're here. So, some years ago, I got caught up with the whole purpose movement. Um, this is way back from I was in Jamaica. I used to be asking people, what is your purpose? People get defensive when you ask them that. I wonder why. I tell you why. We don't want to do it. We know what we need to do. We know who we are. We know what we need to do, but we don't want to do it because most times it's fear of being judged by others, fear of there's just this fear that comes upon us when we need to walk in purpose. A fear comes upon you. It's not the emotion of fear. It's a different fear. You see, there are two different fears. There's the emotion of fear, which is natural when you're going to do something new. But this fear comes upon you. It comes upon you because I have felt it. I remember when I had that knowing that I was supposed to start writing. And a fear came upon me. It was almost as if I came outside of my body and I was looking at myself and I was like, what is that? Because, I don't do fear. Um, and I credited to doing a PhD because I had so much fear. And doing that degree, I really pushed through the fear. And after that, it was like, child, please. So when it was time to get going to my purpose, and it began with writing, this fear came over me. I said, absolutely not. I am doing this. You see, God did not give us a spirit of fear. He gave us a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. Listen to that. He gave us a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. So, what is that telling me? That love is our power. Love is our power. And that's how we operate with a sound mind. So if we are operating in fear, what does that say? It is telling me that we are not operating in love and definitely not in our power. And we don't have a sound mind. It goes together. It goes to many people are being called into their purpose. But that fear and the way we are conditioned by the culture, by society, causes even more fear because society will tell us, you went to school for this. This is what you should do. And for how long? No. Who says? Who wrote these rules? We got to know who we are and whose we are. Who we are is not just a degree. It's not just where we were born. We got to stop these titles. Who we are includes our strengths, our weaknesses, our natural abilities, our personality, our passions, the things we love. Hello, remember love is where the power is, and our life experiences. You see, before we go anywhere, join any organization, do anything, we should know who we are. Because when we go to places, things are placed upon us, and because many of us are learners, or we have certain abilities, we just take on certain things, but maybe that was not the purpose for that ability. Yes, you can do it. Do it very well because we are learners. We can learn to do whatever. But if we don't know who we are, do you not see how we can get it wrong? I do not think it was by accident that I am just coming to the US at this time. Maybe I would have lost my faith had I come earlier. God took me around the world and then brought me here. I did not want to come when it was time. I was like, no, no, you want me to go to the US? But you see, purpose has a place, it has a time, and it has a specific people aligned to complete that which God has for you or has for us. So I had to go after, you know, justifying it in several ways. And it was necessary. It did. Trust me, the why for that was very strong. But, you know, we want our own way. According to the dictionary, online dictionary, purpose is the reason something is done, created, or exists. Scripture points to purpose as something deeper than a job, title, or life milestone. David writes, "The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me." You see, it's not about us. It's not about us. When we try to rationalize and justify what we're doing, and we could be doing noble things, but it is God that has a purpose for us. You see, there's a way that seems right to man, but it only leads to death. We can think we're doing these noble things and it just leads to death. And it's when you have almost no option of changing again, you realize it and you're like, did I waste my entire life? Did I waste my entire life? Okay. Um, so purpose refers to destiny. Is there a destiny for us? The underlying reason we were born, it is not something we manufacture. It is something God fulfills in us as we walk with Him. And so, if we're not walking with God, are we in purpose? Purpose unfolds through surrender, obedience, and trust. No, when I say if we're not walking with God, can we walk in purpose? No, knowing our core values and doing good things is great, but there are 5 core values. These are the right core values. This is what the Bible talks about as righteousness. So we can have good core values, but if it's not these five, then we are not in alignment. Now, many of us have sought or are seeking, and what we seek we will find, but it will not look the way we think it's going to look. Because when God is in it, there's going to be disruption. And many of us, we don't like disruption. We want comfort. We want stability. And let me tell you, when you're walking with God, you got to throw those out the door. There's a lot of uncertainty. And because what he wants is for us to be dependent on him, not on our intellect, not on um, societal ideas of what success is or whatnot. He wants us to be dependent on him. I cannot tell you how many things I've done, not knowing where I am going, but I'm like, this is what God said. That's the next. You know, what's next? And this is how dreams can lead us, but we have to know if it's our dream. So we still have to be dependent on God. All right. And sometimes some people are just in the right place at the right time and with the right people. And so they don't see that it is really God that is orchestrating what's going on. And so they'll say, I don't believe in God. You don't believe in God, but you're operating in the five core values that Jesus operated in while he was walking on earth. And that's why you're always in the right place at the right time. But there comes a time, you see, I talk about strengths and weaknesses and natural abilities and so forth. When we are walking with God, we get extra. And this is why I cannot understand why we have people in the church not doing what they're supposed to be doing because we get extra gifts, spiritual gifts that gives us wisdom, more wisdom, more discernment. So what is happening? Well, like I said, fear, but we have to move through the fear. The fear is not going to just disappear. We have to move through the fear. It's just an illusion, really. There is really nothing to be afraid of. And yes, you might have detours, setbacks, all these things, but at the right time, just don't give up. All right. So, like I said, no, what we seek, we will find, but it just won't look the way we think. There's going to be disruption. It's going to disrupt our old assumptions. And if we're not rooted, if our foundation is not in God, we will dismiss everything and just go another way. It is next. For many of us who have, migrated from developing countries, our sole goal, let me tell you, is to buy a house that I care. We want to be comfortable, like I said. Um, but it can't just be that. Jesus said to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And that's the right core values, kingdom values that we talk about. Clarity, if clarity feels distant, like I don't know what's next. I feel like I'm going around in circles. What is a dream? What what's a dream that you have? After the PhD, I know I wanted to write books, but I thought I would be working until 65 because that's what society says. And then I would have enough experience to write books. Well, I did not get to work until 65. It was like, no, it's right now. And what happened, one of the things that happened is that you find yourself in a situation where it's like it's mimicking what you have already been through. And you need to write about that situation. It's like it's the past, but it's also the present. And you may find that it's also the future, but it's just in a different context. This is how God operates. This is how God operates. And so it's very important to look at patterns. And as scientists, we know this very well. We can analyze data to, to see the patterns. The same thing that happened on a different level, it's just a different, software or whatever it is at the time. But you can still see the patterns and what could happen based on this. And that's what it is. That's what life is about. What's in our hand? The same story among a number of us, you know, we become scientists and we want to write a book. Of course, because the journey, right? From growing up in rural Jamaica to now seeing ourselves living out our dreams in another country. Um, but we have been through some things and we're probably on the other side. So we want to write about it. That is a good dream. That could be the next step. We don't have to wait until we are 65. See, God asked Moses, what is in your hand? So at the time, I had a PhD, could not get a job. What did I do? Well, I sought God. He gave me a book. The next thing was another instruction, start the blog. You see, just do the next thing. Um, and then it was like, well, start sharing it. So I started sharing it on social media. And the next thing you know, I got a job in tech. When I was sharing, I wasn't thinking about no job. I was just sharing. I was just sharing what I was writing. But then, you see, when you put yourself out there, you attract who you are. I thought I was a biochemist. I didn't think I was a techie person. And even people see me and they're like, you're very technical. I'm like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? You see, people can identify things in you better than you can a lot of times. Sometimes we cannot see ourselves, and that's why community is important because we can identify things in each other and then help to pull that out, and you can develop yourself. I remember when I went to the interview, and they're like, "So why do you want to join?" I'm like, "What? You called me. I don't know." Um, but my thing was that I knew my values and morals and all of these things. I think we're the ones to go train these models. If it's not us, then who? People who don't know themselves? Because the work has to be done. It's just that timing in history. This time, this place. But I never thought that that's what I was going to do. Even when I was doing it, it didn't feel like I was just writing. I was just teaching the models how to respond to certain prompts, which was stories, which was what I was already doing. I was I was literally just doing what I did naturally. Today, I I saw a quote about find a job that you love and you won't work a day in your life. So it was like that. It did not feel like a job. I find myself in these things a lot of times, like, why are they paying me for this? Why? But the other thing is, why do we think everything have to be difficult? Why do we think everything have to be difficult? Why do we not think that something easy is worthwhile doing as well? We have been through the difficulties. Not everything in life is everything is not going to be difficult. Even praying, right? That is something I do naturally. When I came to the US and I was going to this church and it was mostly the elderly. And I went to prayer meeting and they kind of want to like, why are you here? You're so young. But I'm drawn to these things because that's who I am. And I've always been that way. Even as a child, I used to go to church with my grand aunt, and I used to be around the elderly. The Lord's purpose will prevail. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. You see, planning is not a lack of faith. Planning is actually faith, but we have to be flexible. The route matters less than the outcome, you know? Along the way, there might be rejection, isolation, delay, misunderstanding. People are people people won't understand what you're doing. And when people don't understand what you're doing, you become a threat. You become a threat because they can't predict you. We like to predict people. Oh, they're gonna do this. No, don't let nobody predict you. No, we can't predict you. We can control you. When you cannot predict someone, you can't control them. And that's a problem. God's protection and timing. The book of Job reminds us that God places an edge of protection around his people. When we are surrendered to his will, nothing can ultimately prevent his purpose from being fulfilled, even if he removes that protection, and that will happen sometime. In God removed the edge from Job, and Satan was able to attack him, but he still believed. And after a while, Job recovered everything twice, twice as much as he had before. Things will happen to us. Things will happen. Sometimes people start walking with God and things start happening and we run. Want comfort? No, go through it. Go through it. It doesn't mean it's the wrong way because Jesus says, in this world, we will have trouble. So, and that is why we have to know the will of God for our lives. No, we can't just be feeling, oh, this feels good, I'm going to do that. Oh, this, no. Purpose often begins in seed form. I talk about how many people don't want to do the small things, but they want to do the big things. We also don't want to do anything for free. We want to be paid for everything. That's not how life goes. Sometimes you have to start. Have we read the stories of people who became billionaires, who became so significant in life? Their stories, how, people like Steve Jobs, Colonel Sanders started KFC in his 60s. Mary Kay. She started Mary Kay after she retired. You see, that's the thing. A lot of us may not begin our purpose until after we're retired because society told us that we need to work until this time, but that's not the case. We don't need to. This is 2026. This is 2026. Things have changed. Globalization. We don't have to be running all over the world anymore. We can be in one place and be connected to everybody, everywhere. Despise the days of small beginning. Like I said, purpose begins small. When I started writing, and even though it's still small, but at least I can see my way a little better. But it wasn't always like this. Like I said, it was just one thing, then another thing, then another thing. Now I can see a bigger picture of what it is I'm supposed to do. But had I not went on that journey, I wouldn't have seen it. I had to trust God. I had to trust Him when nothing looked like it was working. Growth requires time. Growth requires time. So there's a freedom in understanding purpose, that God's purpose will prevail. God, but will it prevail through you? Hmm? We are free to pursue our God-given dreams without fear of missing our destiny. Because at the right time, you're gonna come. You're gonna come. You see, permission often looks like persistence, an idea that you just cannot shake, a vision just keep returning. You pray, listen, and move when the doors open. Sometimes I forget some of the things I'm supposed to do. And what God will do is to bring someone and say something. And they 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 don't even know what they're saying. But you pick up because you understand. Sometimes we have to pivot. I remember when a lady was saying something, she's like, "Oh, so you have a young baby." And she was saying, I don't remember everything she was saying, but she was talking about my physical baby. But it wasn't my physical baby that she was talking. Even though she was saying it, I understood it was not a physical baby. It was a spiritual baby. It was like a spiritual dream that was coming forth at the time. And you have to have a spiritual ear to hear these things. This is a gift. It doesn't happen to natural people. Somebody will hear it naturally and they'll be like, oh yeah, I have a 2-year-old, whatnot. That's not what she was talking. gifts. In our group, we do sessions called expressing our gifts. That's where it begins. It begins with creating whatever it is that you want to create, that you love to create. A lot of times, the things that we see or we like to watch on social media and whatnot, it's something in us. It's in us. And we need to put the effort in because we gifts, we're not masters of our gifts yet. Let's just say it. We need to put the effort in to learn and practice. And don't be afraid to share it. Does it look good to you? Do you like it? But a question that I asked is, can unbelievers walk in purpose? Now, this is interesting because, yes, scripture shows that God's purposes extend beyond belief status. Pharaoh, Cornelius, and even entire nations were used to fulfill God's plan without them knowing. Without them knowing. I remember, um, you know, when God was taking the people out of Egypt, his people out of Egypt, he said to Pharaoh, it's because of this reason. He said, it's because of this reason I raised you up. He said it to Pharaoh. God can speak to anybody he wants to speak to. God's purpose will be accomplished with or without us. He can use anybody. And if he needs to use an unbeliever, he will use an unbeliever. Because if his children are too afraid to do what he called them to do, it is going to go to somebody else. He will anoint them to do the work because God's purpose must prevail. And there's a time for it to happen. So if we are not ready and he sees an unbeliever who can get the job done, guess what? That unbeliever will be anointed to get the job done. Yes. So, do we have a dream? Take it to the Lord. Pray, seek, submit. And sometimes He will put us in an environment where there are others doing these things and it will just start rising. You will just find yourself doing things that you don't even know what you're doing, really. Follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. Like now, remember we were talking about contentment as well. So, contentment and purpose has to do with contentment. When you're in purpose, you find that you're content whether things are going good or things are going bad. Purpose is the antidote of discontentment. If you're feeling discontentment in your life, find your purpose. And you know what? We're always in purpose, but it's just to align with God so He can lead us. Everything that we have done will be used. That's how God works. He can use it. My PhD was in biochemistry, as I said. I was characterizing enzymes and all sort of things. And he used that very thing. I also studied the evolution of these enzymes. And through that, God was teaching me about myself. about relationships. I mean, about the gifts and natural ability. I mean, when I say blown, how can God use something like that to teach me these things? He's God. He can use whatever he wants. So it wasn't wasted. You see, now I have a book about it. I'm not doing biochemistry, but I have a book about that situation, right? So we still use it, just use it a different way. Okay. So we cannot be limited in our thinking about how we use our experiences. God is a limitless God. We can't limit him to our understanding. He thinks higher. He's God. Um, we don't we we don't even know what we're saying when we people talk about the universe. God is higher than the universe. God made the universe. Okay? Paul writes, I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. You see, Paul's contentment wasn't tied to his bank account or comfort. Paul, I've been through it, I tell you. It came from knowing Christ. No, we got to know. Unfortunately, we have often taken I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me and applied to hustle culture or overworking. When in fact, Paul was speaking about the peace that comes from spiritual alignment, not material accumulation. We overwork. Mm. We say we have like good work ethic. And yes, I get that. But God is not asking us to work ourselves to death. God is not asking us to work smarter, not harder, right? What is contentment when wanting more is good? You see, the desire, God placed desires in our heart, but we can twist those desires to mean what we want them to mean based on, how our minds are conditioned, based on society, tradition, all these things. So desires are not bad. It's just how we interpret them. When I decided to do a PhD, some people thought I was being greedy. They'd be like, oh, you got a job, you have a master's degree. But my desire wasn't rooted in selfishness. It was about growth and development. See, I love to grow. So much so that it can even be a weakness because I would just grow. And then when I look back, there's nobody because I just love to grow. But we need to take some people with us. As the Bible reminds us, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Jeremiah 17:9. Two people can be doing the same thing, but have different motives. That's why our intention, why we do what we do, is important. Because a person can be doing a PhD, but their desire was to make more money. And even to make money is not bad in itself. It's the intention behind it. Is it just to look at a growing bank account? Or are we using the money for something good? And is it the will of God for your life? It's not wrong to ask God for more wisdom, more knowledge, more understanding, but We must ask ourselves, why do we want it? Do we want to boast on other people? Oh, I'm this and that. Why do we want it? Is it just for ourselves? When wanting more turns into greed, greed often hides in plain sight. You see, a person can work a job for decades, piling up money, accolades, yet never give back. Never teach, never share. Nobody bats their eyes. And this is how we rob the kingdom of God. Because in the kingdom, things are shared among the people. Knowledge, things, money, whatever, shared among the people. We appease ourselves by giving a tenth of our earnings while we sit back and criticize what is being done in society. But Jesus says to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what is God. God gave us gifts and talent. Are we using it for his agenda? What gifts, talents, and abilities did God give us? Meanwhile, young people are hungry for opportunity, but face closed door because we're sitting in the jobs until we are 65 and 85 too. In Jamaica, there's a saying that says the devil find work for idle hands. When youth and undeveloped, undereducated, or undervalued, they become vulnerable to crime, violence, and exploitation. The same is true globally, especially now in the digital age, where technology can be a tool or a trap. What if we are called to stop this? You see, when we just go about our business, um, you know, making all of the money so we can go on vacation, have our house and our car, the latest gadget, latest this. And we don't even pay no mind to what's going on in society. This continues. The problems in society continues. We are called higher. What can we do? Those who know, teach. Those who have, give. Look around. What needs are present in our community? What resources, knowledge, or experience can we offer? Many of us don't even realize what we carry. We think we just have a degree in this. No, those experiences, you got them for a reason. You know, we can mentor youth, can start a small community initiative, simply using our voice to uplift. Everybody has something. We don't need to be settling in jobs that drain us just to survive. We are meant to thrive. There is work, purposeful work that aligns with who we are. Jobs that nourishes us and allow us to serve others at the same time. Could this be the abundant life that Jesus promised? So let's choose purpose over possession and contentment over greed. See, this is where it ends. It starts with purpose or just that feeling of restlessness and discontentment. And we end up over here solving problems, world problems. Breaking the curse of greed and selfishness starts with a shift in mindset. It chooses purpose over possession, service over status, and contentment over competition. We're not called to hoard. We're called to pour out. Give and it will be given back to you. To love more while we practice self-care. We got to love ourselves first. Love your neighbor as yourself. We can't be loving our neighbor and we don't love ourselves. That will lead to burnout. We have to take care of ourselves. And in doing so, we find peace and joy more than we can find in houses and cars and titles. The shift in our mindset of, we have to get paid for everything. And yes, we need to live. Nobody's saying leave the job that you get your money from. That's how it begins. It begins with just doing a little thing on the side, and then it grows until you can make money doing what you do. Because yes, we have to live. We have to earn for our children, for our families. We have to eat. But that's why Jesus even said, do not worry about these things. After he told us to seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. Yes. Do not worry about these things. I will take care of you. But we have to seek him. We can't allow the dream to lead us. We can't allow our feelings to lead us. We got to know. So that is today's topic on purpose and contentment with grace and gratitude. Sanchia and team.